and welcome back to the Quilting Corner. Today we're going to start with our subscriber spotlight, and we have one today from Alberta, Canada. Her name is Heather Miller, and she watches our videos and she saw the quick and easy quilt tutorial that we had posted, and she made it. She had some fabrics at home. She put those together to make this quilt. She had the fabrics and didn't know what to do with them. Then when she found that video, that's what she did. She did an amazing job. I want to show you the picture in just a minute. She said she made it for her friend who was retiring after 37 years of nursing. Wow, what a great retirement gift. And I am so happy for her friend. After 37 years of nursing, she is retiring. And hopefully she will find a hobby, quilting, sewing. You don't ever know what it's going to be. But hopefully she has a hobby that she will get involved in and have a good time in retirement. So let me show you the picture now of the quilt that Heather made. Heather is the one on the right side of the picture in the white sweater. The next thing on our agenda today is to make the block for our quilt that we've been making the blocks for. So we're going to start that next one. So let's go over to the sewing table and the cutting table and we'll get started. Here's the fabrics we're going to get started with on this quilt. We're going to need a white for our background, and then we're going to need two coordinating fabrics for this quilt. And I have chosen these two. You can pick whatever you want. There's lots of choices to be made here, but this is the one we are going with. So we're going to start with our cutting. I'm going to start with my background, which in my case is white. I'm going to open up my piece of fabric. I'm going to get my ruler, and I am going to cut a 3 7/8 inch block out of this white fabric for the background. And I'm going to need 8 of them. So I'm going to measure 3 7/8 on my ruler. And I'm going to cut it. Didn't cut all the way through right there. I'm going to cut it again. And I'm just going to line these two up, making sure they're good and lined up perfectly. Line them up on a line in the ruler. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to line it up with the 3 7/8 so that when I cut this, I've got 2 3 7/8 squares. And now I've got 4. And now I will have 6 when I cut this one. But if you remember, I said we needed 8. So I've got to come back over here to my white and cut one more 3 7/8 inch block. So I'm going to line it up just so. You want your cuts to be perfect, so you line them up best you can. Put my white to the side. I'll get one more block of 3 7/8. Now that makes me have 2, 4, 6, 7. So I need one more. Me and counting are not going good together today. So there I've got, now I will have my 8 squares of the white. And what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to subcut them across the grain, across the square. So I'm going to line it up. You can do however many you feel comfortable at a time. But what you're going to do is you're going to cut diagonally from one corner to another. And since it's a square, it doesn't matter which corner you start with. And I'm going to cut them into these triangles. I'm going to do the same thing with all of these, which will make me have 16 when I get done. I'm going to line them up. Do as many as I can at one time making sure that they're still lined up. Okay. I'll line these up on the ruler. I do it where I line the point on this side and I line the point on the other side so that I know that's straight across. Line my ruler up, cut across, and do the same thing. I've got 2 more squares to do. And then we are done with cutting our white, which is our background. You can do whatever color you want, but there's our background. Now we're going to move on to the next color, which in my case is going to be red. And I am going to make a cut here in the size of 7 1/4 inch. And I only need 1 of them. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut off my selvage. Then I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it at 7 1/4. So I'm going to line it up on the ruler, on the mat I mean. There's my 7 1/2 inch line. I'm going to cut here. I'm going to turn it. But then I'm going to cut there. Now I've got a 7 1/2 inch square. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cross cut it. So I'm going to line it up on the ruler where the points are at one of these lines. Line my ruler up with it. Cut it. Gently pick my ruler up so that I don't move these blocks. And then line it up this way. And then cut it this way. So that now you've got 4 triangles. So I'm going to pull these and put them over to the side. Then I'm going to take my other piece and I'm going to do the same thing. So I've got to cut the selvage off first. I'm going to cut this one the same way that I did the red square, and I'm going to cut it at 7 1/4 inches. So I'm going to line this up to the quarter line, and I'm going to cut here, and then I'm going to cut it the other way as well to make it 7 1/4 square. So now I've got my block here. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to, you can line it up on the mat if you want to or not. Most of the time I do. But I can line the ruler up to this corner and this corner and still do just fine. Carefully lift it up. Line it up from this corner to this corner. Cut it again. Now I've got my 4 triangles. I'm going to take these triangles and I'm going to sit down at the sewing machine and sew them together. Okay, we've got our 3 units here. We've got the 2 colors and then we've got the background. So what we're going to start with is we're going to take 2 of our white pieces, which is our background, and 1 of the triangle big pieces. And we're going to line them up like this to make a flying geese. Now I know there are multiple ways of making these flying geese, but this is the way we're doing this one. If you want to do it a different way, by all means do it a different way, but this is the way we're doing it. So we're going to line this up on just like that. Take one aside, flip it right sides together, and we're going to stitch down this long side. Line it up just right, and then we're going to stitch down here at 1/4 inch. So let's take it to the machine, stitch 1/4 inch. Then we're going to take this, well, the thread didn't cut. I'm going to take this and open it up. And then we're going to do the same thing with this side. We're going to lay it down. You're going to press this open, either ironing it or by your fingers. I do it by my fingers right now. Then I'm going to line this side up. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to sew down this side at 1/4 inch. Make sure at this point you are using the 1/4 inch seam. My machine has the mark right here that shows me 1/4 inch. If you don't have a very visible 1/4 inch seam allowance sign on your machine, there's this tape that we have at the shop, diagonal seam tape, and it has lines on it that you can guide yourself on there. We also have a different kind that is a purple thing that attaches here, and it's reusable. You can clean it off after a while if it needs to be and put it back on. It's reusable, and it adds like a little lip to it so that your fabric lays up against that lip, and then it just guides down that. So you don't have to worry about, am I following this 1/4 inch seam? But I know I am, because mine is visible right there, so I'm fine with it. And now I've made my flying geese, if I can get that word out. I'm going to do the same thing with all of these pieces. I'm just going to make flying geese with each of them. I'm going to take another fabric, I'll line up some more triangles with the side to make another flying geese, and I'll sew them just like I did that other one. So I'll take it to the 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to pull it out, press it open. Do the same thing to this side. And when I've lined it up just right, I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and sew, if I can get it right on here, at a 1/4 inch. Okay, that's the way it's supposed to be done. I've got 2 feet down here at the bottom of my machine. One of them is the regular sewing foot that makes the sewing machine go. The other one I can program to do whatever I want it to do. And in this case, I've got mine programmed to cut my thread. So there's times where I accidentally hit the wrong foot down here, which is what I just did a second ago. And, well, it doesn't make the sewing machine work, it makes it cut the thread. So anyway, I'll use the right foot next time. So there's my flying geese here. I'm going to continue making these, and when I get them all done, I'll come back to you. I chain pieced mine, so I did one side and I sewed it, and then I did one side and I sewed it until I got all the red ones done. And then I'm adding the other side, and I will chain piece them as well. You can do it whatever method you want to do it, obviously, but in case you didn't know this method or wanted to try this method, this is easy and quick, and it speeds up the process. I'm gonna make sure I keep it lined up. Leave it there. Get my next one lined up, and just put it there to where now it'll sew the next one. And since these are my last 2 red ones, I will cut my thread. Then I will pull them out and separate them by that one thread. I'll take them over here to the ironing table. So now I'm going on to my blue ones. I'm going to get all my blue ones done. See how that's flipped down? I'm going to fix that with the iron first. Now I will start sewing my pieces onto my blue ones so that I'll have my flying geese done, and then I'll come back. Okay, I've got all of my flying geese made, 4 of each color. I'm going to take it now and I'm going to cut these little dog ears off. What I mean by dog ears are these little pieces that when we sewed these triangles on and flipped it backwards, it made this little piece right here that hangs over. That's called a dog ear. So we're going to cut those off. We'll also have some on the side like that. I'm going to cut those off. And when I get all those cut off, we will come back and we will sew the block together. Okay, we've got our blocks made and ironed open. So you got 4 like this, and then you've got 4 like this. So 4 of each color. we've cut our dog ears off after we ironed it open. You don't have to do that step. That's just something I like to do. Some people don't, and it's just a preference thing. To me, it adds a little bit of bulk right there, and I don't want that bulk when I'm quilting it. So I like to cut those out. So now we're gonna piece our block together. So we're gonna take 2 units, one of each, and sew one on top of the other. Take the blue one in our case on top, the red on the bottom. I'll flip it right sides together, pin them together like so. And then I'll take it to the machine and sew a 1/4 inch to put these 2 units together. Then I'll take another one and I'll just chain piece them together. So I'm gonna put, in my case, the blue on top each time. So I'm gonna put the blue on top of the red, pin them together. If you don't want to pin them, you don't have to pin them, but you can if it's easier for you. We're going down at a 1/4 inch down this long side. Last one, blue on top. Right sides together, pin them. And then sew them. Now I'll cut them apart from one another. And then I'm going to iron them open. Now we're going to take them and lay them out. I'm going to take one and lay it like this. I'm going to take one and lay it pointing that way. Another one pointing this way. And another one pointing this way. So that I it creates like a pinwheel here. But you've got the one color on the outside and the one color on the inside. And now we're just going to sew these together. So I'm going to sew this one to this one. I'm going to move these two to the side. I'm going to sew these together. And I apologize now for my fingernails. It has been a rough week. I am glad to say it is Saturday because I am ready to call this week done. So needless to say, my fingers did not get done this week. Now I'm going to take these two and I'm going to sew them together like that, like I had them laid out. You could pin them if you want, but make sure you've got them lined up just right. Okay, now I've got my 2 units. I've got the one going this way and one going this way. And then I've got the other 2 that I just sewed a minute ago. So now I've got my red looking like a pinwheel and the blue on the outside. So all I need to do now is to take this top and lay it on top of the bottom. For this one, since it is a larger unit, I definitely will pin this because I want to make sure they line up. I'll go to the center and I'll make sure that center seam is lined up by lining them up and then rolling them together. So there's my seam and there's my top. Pin them together. Then take your end pieces and pin them together. And if you need to pin one in the middle, you can pin one in the middle. And in this case, I'm going to, because I want it to just keep with the shape that I got the lined up right. I don't want them moving around on me at all. So I'll pin that one. Then I'm going to sew this long seam down here at a 1/4 inch again. Everything's 1/4 inch. Take my pins out as I get to them. And that's it. All I've got to do now is clean up my table with all my pins and my scraps, and then we'll call it almost a day. The only thing left we have to do is iron this open, but there is our block. I'm going to iron it flat, and then I will show you our block and we will be done. And here we are with our finished block that looks like this. And it was that easy. If you had a problem with it, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you with it. I hope you didn't. I hope, for one, that you learned something, and for two, you had fun. So until next time, you guys keep on sewing, keep on quilting, and we will make another block the 1st of next month. And, well, enjoy, have fun, try different color combinations. You could do a whole quilt of just this one block or just this one block. You could do a fun quilt with just scraps like this, or blending colors together. There's lots of different ways you can do this, but this is going to be the quilt where we mix our squares like this. And I hope you had fun with this block. Until next time, you guys have a great day. Let me know if I can help you in any way. And, well, have a good weekend. Keep on quilting, and happy quilting.